to another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. I'm one of your co hosts. I'm Dr. Joe Hamlett. And as always, Dr. Dave Peltz. How you doing, Dr. Dave?
Dr. Dave is doing just great today, Dr. Joe.
Well, that is good to hear. Good to know. All right, so we're started off on the right foot then. All right, so thank you all for tuning in. Again, we're the Mid Career Professional Podcast. We want to help you along your journey as you move forward. As I always say, like me and Dave are doing on our journey, alone and together on this podcast and beyond. So, thank you for tuning in. If you've been here before, you kind of know how we do things. But if this is your first time, thanks for tuning in. And hopefully, you'll walk away with something that you can use in your journey. So, with all that said, let's jump right into our topic. So, again, if you've been here before, you know one of us will introduce the podcast and the other will jump right into our topic and get us going. So, Dave is going to get us started. So, I'm going to start with our topic, Dave. So, why remembering how far you've come builds confidence and momentum?
That's a
Why is
mouthful.
that? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, why remembering how far you've come builds confidence and momentum? So, when I think about where I've come from, where we've come from, we come from humble beginnings, and it still blows my mind to this day. I'm not tooting my own horn or anything like that. I'm just saying it amazes me that I've been able to do what I've been able to do and what you've been able to do throughout our career in our personal and professional lives, because it's this journey has taken me to places I never thought I'd go, to jobs I never thought I'd have, to positions I never thought I would hold. So, and experiences that I never thought I'd experience. So, the times of my career where I felt stuck, or, wondering what my value is, or not sure of what I can contribute anymore, and feeling maybe kind of stagnant or stuck, or maybe just not sure, I reflect on where my journey really started. It could go back as far as my earliest childhood memories. It can go from the time I, graduated high school, had my first few jobs, or it could go the time that I went into the military, the positions and places I were there. It just depends on how far I want to back that that journey up, to think and remember and contemplate about how much I've done and how much I've overcome. And in that moment, I realized, well, if I could do all those things, I can certainly do whatever I'm doing now, or change what I'm doing now, or give me the confidence or the momentum to do whatever I want to do in that moment or at that juncture in time. Because to me, it's like keeping your resume updated. You forget about all those things that you've done and accomplished, and I have different iterations of my resume depending on where I was in my career and the time frame and the positions I was applying for. But it really is like a professional portfolio where you can reflect and go, wow, I did those things. I've forgotten about that. And I do have my old paper portfolio, with the sleeves and the, certificates and stuff slid in there. And every now and then I'll go in there and just kind of flip through the pages and go, wow, I totally forgot I did that. That is so cool. It gives me something to be proud of.
Well, Dave, similar to what you said, it just still blows my mind as well to reflect on, where I started from and to where I am today. And you're right. Oftentimes I'll be sharing things about people with people about myself, and I after I get finished with that conversation, I walk away and I think, oh, I didn't even mention it, or I forgot this, and it's just again a lot of times you back then I used to discount myself, my skills, my abilities, until after. Typically, it's afterwards. It's after I've had a conversation, needed that information for something, and I come back to it. and I'm thinking I didn't even mention this. I didn't say this because, like you say, you forget so many things that you've accomplished in your past, and that's what I'm trying to get better at because now I consider myself a unicorn, just because of all the things I've done, all the things I accomplished. But it still I still get to that point sometimes where I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know, I'm capable of, and then I have to reflect on those things and kind of pull out that portfolio, like you say, and start to take stock of all those things that I've all those things that I didn't know that I was going to be capable of, but now reflecting back on, oh yeah, you did that, you did that. So why wouldn't you be able to do these other things? So it's a good reminder to reflect on those things. Not like you said, not to brag or boast, but to recognize you have come a long way. And so that's when I realized, even when I started my education journey, thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a very uphill battle." But then reflecting on, okay, you went through Marine Corps boot camp, you went through Air Force boot camp, you did these things that not a lot of people can do. So you should
I'm
really
going to
take
interject for
pride.
just a
Yeah.
second because you said Marine boot camp and Air Force nursery camp. Is that what you said?
You're not supposed to do that against a peer that you shared in the same military branch. I mean, that's typically, set aside for opposing branches or other branches. But so that's a real tough dig. That's
Yeah.
that's that's
Yeah,
pretty
and when
bad.
you said the boot camp thing, that's where my mind was. It's like, you go into boot camp not necessarily knowing exactly what you're getting into, or at least
Right,
back in the day when we did, because the world wasn't wide open with the internet and that sort of thing.
right, right,
And we get done with boot camp and we're just like, yeah, we did it. Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. But the days before that, you're like, oh my God, this sucks. It's the
right.
worst
Yeah,
thing ever. But when you're done,
right.
it's the best thing ever. And then that's just part of that reflection on what you just accomplished.
Yep.
And whether it's boot camp, whether it's a certification, whether it's education, whether it's, you know, taking baby steps again, learning how to, get your sea legs back or get your mojo back, learn how to ride that bicycle or swim again. You know, that's what's going to build that confidence and momentum.
Right,
And you don't have to go all the way back to your childhood. I mean, it could be just, wow, look where I've come in the last 2 weeks because I've done
right,
X, Y,
right.
and Z.
Absolutely.
I thought this project was going to take, you know, 8 months and it took me 3 months, or I thought, it was going to take me this much time to get this many widgets produced or whatever. And I've got it done maybe on time, but I wasn't sure I could do it because I've been so running so hard and so fast the last few weeks because of everything that's going on around me in work and at home. So, that remembering how far you've come can be just a short time ago or it can be a long time ago.
Right.
And going back to my portfolio, my paper one that's like an inch and a half thick, my granddaughter several weeks ago said, Papa, what's this? I was like, oh, that's a book about Papa. She's like, can I see it? And I'm like, well, when you're older, because to her, she's not going to understand anything that's in there
Right.
right now. And, but it's going to be cool to share that. And I remember, several years ago before my grandfather passed, he had pulled out a book from when he had retired and all the things that he had accomplished and all the things that he had done. And I was like, I was just blown away at
Right.
what he had done. And, he was in a much better position economically when he was growing up versus when I was growing up. His parents had their own business. And so that was really cool for him. But even when he was looking at his portfolio, he was just it just you could see him light up inside again. Yeah,
Right.
I did these things. I forgot, and it makes you it can make you put yourself back up on top of the world like you can accomplish anything
Right.
again.
Yeah.
And that's why we say remembering where you've come from and how far you've come really does build your confidence and can build that momentum because it reminds you of things that you've done that you may have forgotten about or dismissed or discarded for other things. And it just puts things back at the forefront on how exceptional you really are as a person.
No, I agree 100%, and I think that's a lot of us do the same thing, that we forget or we discount because we've accomplished it and moved on, moved forward. But it is a good idea to reflect on those things again, to just to put in perspective where you were and who you are today. And that's why I think I like sharing my story so much, just because again it takes me back to that place of where I was and how far I've come. So it's a good reminder to look at the past and where you were and where you're actually going. That also again refuels my excitement for tomorrow, what's coming up, because again I can reflect on, well, you didn't think you could do this, you did it. You didn't think you could do that, and you did it. So it's just that reminder that with that doubt that a lot of times jumps in your face when you're about to do something new, and that that fear, that comfortable feeling you have that I'm going to do something different. But if you reflect on those things that you accomplished, because you probably had those same feelings when you were about to start something new back then. But then now again, you can say, well, I can check this box, I can check that box because I did come out on top. Even if you maybe didn't reach the success level that you wanted, you can still say that I did these steps here. Didn't turn out the way I wanted, but at least I did these things. And again, that can help you build that momentum of, I tried it. May not have been the success that I was desiring, but I did it. And maybe next time, if I did it again, I choose this step versus that step, then maybe I'll have success. So it just gives you that, reflection point of, okay, so I did it, it worked, or I did it and it didn't work. But it gives you you're not starting from a blank slate. You at least have something that you can reference and say, well, this worked, this method worked, this process worked, or it didn't.
And I want to bring to light a not so happy perspective. We've talked about our self doubt or insecurities or, you know, not remembering, but there's also another side where unfortunately there are supervisors, managers, leaders, peers who are not kind to their workers, and they plant that seed of you're not good enough,
Yep.
and it just festers and festers and festers, and you start buying into that narrative.
Right.
This can help you get out of that narrative. This can help you find yourself and find your confidence again, because that sometimes it's deliberate. Like in the military, they strip you down for a reason and rebuild you. But other times, it's just because the people that some of the people we deal with are just not nice people, and
Right.
that's an is what it is. You're not there to change them. But the reason I'm bringing this up is so you can break that narrative, so you can break that cycle of buying into that what they want you to believe instead of remembering what you believe. And so you can use this as a tool to again get that confidence back to build that momentum.
Well, I think it all goes back to kind of when you understand where you were and where you are today, then that helps you with your definition of success as well. So, regardless of what they say, if you deem that you were successful at going from A to B, then that's all that should matter.
Right.
Again, and it may be different in a work environment. Somebody may expect you to go from A to D, but in your eyes, success for you is A to B. So that may be a little something different. Maybe there are a few steps you need to go to, but the idea is, to Dave's point, you don't want to allow somebody to dictate what success is to you. You define that. Like I said, it may not be to somebody else's standard, but that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to achieve your own level or idea of success. So that helps you with that reflection piece. Again, if you get to that point where you are in front of somebody who sees everything you have done as insignificant or not of value, then you can, go back and reflect on your own right. You don't have to prove it to somebody else. Prove it to yourself, and that's good enough. Again, I know this in positions where you're trying to achieve or go to another job or anything else like that, that may become a factor, but in your eyes, your reflection still should be of, okay, I did achieve. Maybe it's again not to their level, but you're living for yourself, not for somebody else. So Just really think about that when again you may face people like Dave said that may not be nice or that may be in a position where they're trying to keep you down. Still, you know, evaluate your own self worth, not allow somebody else to do that for you. So I just want to throw that out there as again a way to offset whatever somebody sees as you not being valuable or not meeting their standards. That's their standards.
So it looks like it's about time for the weekly challenge. And this week's weekly challenge is we would like you to reflect upon your past achievements and identify at least three elements that assisted you in your success. So we're asking you to take that journey backwards and remember how far you've come, reflect on your past achievements, and identify at least three elements that contributed or assisted you in your definition of success. And again, if you need a journal, we've got a downloadable PDF, fillable PDF that you can download at no cost to assist you in tracking your weekly challenges. And there's also a couple of assessments. There's that are at no cost that'll help you kind of maybe get started to give you a place to a starting point to build from. So there's a short one. And once you complete the short one, you have the option to take the little bit longer assessment.
Well, Dave, I was just going to jump back on the weekly challenge. So if people are, trying to figure out what that looks like or struggling with, okay, what were those things? Maybe it's, your consistency, your discipline, your, commitment. What common themes what helped you, achieve your goals, your previous goals, or, achieve those things that you wanted to. Just think about those things. So that might help you kind of figure out what those elements are, but just those things that you can consistently say, yeah, I did this each time, and that's why I was successful. So I just want to throw that out there. People trying to figure out what those things are. Well, do you have anything else to add on this topic today?
I think I do. Just a quick couple of things. This is your reflection. This is you, and it's not what other people's definition of you is or what they believe you are or should be. This is for you. This is for your benefit. Things that you've overcome. There may be things that you've overcome that are insignificant to other people,
Right.
but then there's other things that may have been easy to you to overcome that could be, climbing a giant building to other people. So
Right.
it's all subjective, but your success is your success. Your the things that you've overcome and how far you've come and the challenges that you've overcome and just really grabbed onto and pushed through and made something of it. That's you. That's who you are. You are unique in your own journey. You are unique in your own challenges, and your story is unique. And that's what's important about your journey.
Yeah, that's very powerful, Dave. Again, this is your journey. This is about you. When you're doing that self reflection, it's your self reflection, not again somebody else's version of what they think about you or who you are or your success. It's all about you. You do you. Not don't be concerned with what other people say or see in you because if you allow that, then you would be some different version that wouldn't be you because it goes back to me and Dave talked about this before we got on here. We think about what the expectations were from our parents, what they expected of us, and I can attest to that's where I started my whole working career or my adult life was joining the military because my dad said I only had a couple of options, either join the military or go to work. And so versus maybe I could go to school or maybe I can do some other things. And so that dictated who I was for a long time. So understanding everything you do, it's yours. It's all the success you have. It's yours. It's not for somebody else to chime in and say, "Hey, that you're not successful." That is still up to you. So I know I went into a little rant, but I think it's important for us to, like Dave said, it's your reflection. It's your life. It's your career. It's your version of what success is. So just keep that in mind as you're going through your journey. So again, we want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode. Like we said in the past, if this is your first time and hopefully you gain something from this, or if you know somebody who might benefit from this content, then make sure you send them this information, our our links. Again, there's a ton of podcasts available for different topics. So if people just want to jump in and listen to an old podcast, they're there for your liking. So again, we want to thank you all for your support and thanks for tuning in. So, with that, we want you to continue being your not so ordinary